The world of Psycho-Pass and Imperial Japan's military are both deeply immersed in a culture of internal violence and strife, all in the name of engendering obedience and order. In the world of Psycho-Pass, enforcers are latent criminals repurposed as police officers. Feared for their potential for violence, enforcers are watched over by inspectors, who literally own them and are instructed to treat enforcers as attack dogs and nothing more. Afraid of becoming latent criminals by growing close to enforcers, inspectors are recommended to quote-unquote draw a line between themselves and the enforcers. This pattern of demeaning, separation, and the ensuing culture of violence that surrounds the PSB can be read as an allegory to the structure and practices of the Imperial Japanese Army. Frank Gibney, editor of Senso, noted that, quote, "When recruits arrived at the regimental depot for their first training, however, all the fanfare disappeared. Probably the world's roughest corps of non-commissioned officers literally slapped and beat and kicked their charges into submission. Discipline was administered in the same way in the officer corps. It was not uncommon for a senior officer to slap a junior officer in front of the men." The constant, almost casual characterizations of enforcers as irredeemably violent and suspicious reflect the Imperial Army's own regulations advocating constant violence amongst its ranks. During his stint as a POW of the Japanese, Eddie Fung encountered the systemic violence within the Imperial Army. Quote, "Back in the old days, a man might slap you with a glove, and you would know that means that you're going to have a duel. Or sure, go ahead and punch a guy if you want, but slap a guy? That's not a manly thing to do. That just never made sense to us until we realized that was exactly what they did to each other. Corporal punishment was a way of life in the Japanese Army." Furthermore, Eddie Fung noted that Koreans within the military were often the most violent and cruel. Near the end of his memoirs, Eddie Fung mused, quote, "People often ask if I feel any bitterness toward the Japanese. I don't, because I came to understand why they treated us with such contempt. From their vantage point, no respectable soldier ever allows himself to be taken alive. On the other hand, I find it hard to forgive the Korean guards who took such pleasure in beating and torturing us." End quote. The constant physical violence is present in both universes, characterizing each systems with trauma and inequality. The highlighting of such internal violence is both seen as a way to enforce compliance and submission, once again fitting into the theme of destroying free will. The series author, Gen Urobuchi, could be making a statement on the effectiveness of physical control, while also recognizing its significant costs.